Okay, welcome to Bitrix Live. I'm Damien Edwards, Commercial Manager of Bitrix Partners Interface. We're based in Sheffield in the UK, and we have offices in New York and Dubai. I've got with me our support manager, Andy Naylor.
Hi guys. If you've got any questions throughout this session, it's going to be 1 hour long, so we're going to 11 AM Eastern Time. If you've got any questions, just put them in the box on YouTube, and we're more than happy to help. And obviously you can see our screen here, so we can show you live in Bitrix and answer any questions that you've got. If you've got any questions, like I say, put them in the box, or you can tweet us at Interface, or you can email them to live@interface.com. And if you've got any questions in the week as well, don't forget to pop us an email, because we can answer those as well in the next session. So we're live every Thursday at 10 AM.
Yeah, quickest way to ask a question is put it in the chat onto YouTube. Let's just show you what we've got. Whilst waiting for some questions to come through, what we've got open. We've got two instances open. So we've got a cloud version here of Bitrix, and we've got a self-hosted version of Bitrix. If you don't know about the self-hosted version, then essentially it's the same product as the cloud solution, but you can host it in-house, or it can be hosted on a web server that you rent, or a partner like ourselves can host it for you. Exactly the same functionality. It's available still over the internet as a cloud application. You still access it in a browser window, as we're accessing this one here. But it has some additional features. Across the top you can see here a control panel, an admin bar that gives you access to the control panel. I just drop that down quickly. You can do a lot more with it in terms of editing, changing the content of the system, so you can use these tools to create pages and edit pages. And then there's quite a big control panel area where you can configure how the front end works. So we've got a self-hosted instance open here. We've got a cloud instance open here. This one's got different theme background on. Let's just put something on here so we can see it stands out. So this will be the cloud instance. If we need to demonstrate on here, then we'll do it on this cloud instance. If we need to demonstrate on the self-hosted, then we'll do it on this one. So put your questions in the chat. I think you've got a question came through an email.
Yes, certainly. So we had a question just with regards to the public pages on forms. So Bitrix comes in a CRM. You have the ability to create your own web forms, which are really good if you're not aware of them. But what you can do is you can create a form, pull in any of the fields that you require from any of the CRM sections. So I think the one in the question was they wanted to create a new lead from an inquiry, so they pulled in the inquiry fields to that particular form. But the question was with regards to, can we change this? So the answer is, if you're on cloud, you're going to be restricted to the public page that Bitrix provides, so you can see here. But if you're on the self-hosted, we can actually brand up this public page. We can create a new public template, and we can put whatever you want on here. So it's quite good for if you're doing maybe an email campaign, which you can do out of Bitrix as well now, and you've got a link on your email campaign to maybe open up a form landing page, which could be quite useful. The user fills in that form and it creates a lead. But the question was, can we brand it? Now, yes, you can on the self-hosted. You're going to be restricted on the cloud. However, what we would recommend to do is embed your form in your website. So you can create a new page, maybe it's just a completely blank page on your website, and embed the form in. It's so easy to do. Once you've created and saved your form, you can just simply click on the embed code, and this is all you need to copy. So you need to copy this script and then paste it into your page on your website. What that will do is it will give you a form. Now there are alternatives, so if you wanted a button instead, you can click on the button and it pop up. You can have a text link, so you click on the text link and it pops up.
I have a question. Sorry.
It's all right.
So sometimes I think people report having problems with this code on WordPress using certain themes. Is that Is there a problem?
So there's not a problem hosting on WordPress. We host ours on WordPress. However, in some cases, it's to do with the server that you're hosting on. I do believe quite a lot of servers now, especially shared hosting, have. I do believe it's it does block X-frame. And what you need to do is just make that adjustment usually you can do that in your cPanel. We've done it for quite a few of our clients. But there's no problem in WordPress. You would, if you're not going to put it straight into a template on WordPress, if that's what you're using, then you would need to get I think you can actually use the HTML block and paste this in on here. So yeah, you can still use it, and it might be really useful to have a button maybe in a widget on your WordPress site if you to do that. And just before Damien mentioned that, just the last one with time delayed, so you can have somebody arrive on your website and then it pop up, which is quite popular at the moment to do. So especially if you can have these forms to create newsletter signups, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Arrive and pop up, and you can style them. You can in the act when you create them, you can use your own CSS code, so it looks like it's part of your website. It doesn't have to look like a Bitrix form. Okay,
and we can, if you don't want to use the Bitrix form builder tool, we could integrate with an existing form. Like there's widgets within WordPress, I think, contact forms.
I think there's contact form 7, isn't there? Yeah.
So we can integrate with that if you're on self-hosted.
Yeah, you can use it
on the cloud, I guess.
Yeah, you can post the form details via a webhook and straight into.
Oh right, so you can probably do it on the cloud.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
can do. Yeah. I mean, the only problem with the cloud, if you're on a free version of Bitrix, which a few people are, you can't take the branding off the Bitrix form. So it does have a powered by Bitrix, as you'll see when I click into this one. I think it showed you there. Powered by Bitrix. You can't actually take that off if you're on a free plan. You would have to upgrade to a paid version to be able to do that. So,
but yeah, okay, but doable on the cloud. Another way we can, so you can create a form using that form builder, or you can use a widget as well. So it's in a slightly different area. I think it's in CRM widgets, isn't it? In here, CRM website widget. So as part of the website widget, you can create so if we just edit this one, we've got
yeah, it's the one below here. It's a CRM form.
CRM form. So this one. So this is part of the widget which you embed, which appears in the corner of every page. In fact, it does not appear on every page. You can specify pages that generally appear on every page. So this is this widget which will appear in any of the four corners of your website, and you can have a time delay on this as well, which I think, and you mentioned with a form, it can just appear after a couple of seconds, which can be quite effective. You can have an introduction text, but this has a chat, so we can, they can chat with you, or you can create a form and post a form into here. So that one, again, you've got to embed the code, haven't you? I think. So it gives you the code actually, at the top.
Yeah. I'm just looking at. I can see we're probably blocking the widget in the bottom right hand corner. Okay. So you may wonder what we are clicking on.
Let me update it to this corner and save that. Okay, so it was appearing here. Let's move it to here. And apply. Okay, so go back to the site and refresh. So, okay, so you should be able to see it now over here. If we wait for a couple of seconds, then hopefully we get an introduction. No, it's not working, it's not enabled there. In fact, it's changed the form, looks like we've changed some settings. But so now it's given us the option for live chat, as well as callback. So that's a form that will, in fact that's not a form, that will, if you fill out this form, it will automatically dial, so if a person fills out a form, it will automatically dial them and assign that call to somebody in your team. So the person completing the form can expect to get a call within a matter of seconds. But yeah, there we go. You can create a form which can appear in the widget. Of course, you can customize. You can choose which fields you want which sort of data you want to capture in this form.
And again, just referring to what we mentioned a moment ago, again, we get quite a few questions just about removing the Powered by Bitrix24. You can do that just by going into the form that you create, clicking on the button and it disabling it. It's it's very, very straightforward to do, but you just need to be on a, you can see there.
So we can remove it with this tick. Introduce after 3 seconds. This can be quite good, so that allows the page to load and then the form to appear later on. And you can choose where it goes. So in fact, you can have it in any corner. You can have it top and bottom in the middle. You can change the styling of this form in here quite easily. Choose a standard colour or put in a hex code in there to have. So as Andy was saying, you can create these forms match exactly the styling of your website. There's the code you need to put into your site. And I think, as we mentioned, you can so you can have work time preferences, so it can appear at certain times. Especially if you're doing chat, you might not want it to appear out of office hours. And then you can choose to display on specific pages or hide on certain pages. Change the content of the pop-up messages if you want to do that. So,
I think they're all quite easily customizable, aren't they? I think it's whatever you want it to do as well. That's the important thing. I think once you submit that form, it can create a contact, it can create a company, it can create a lead, but everything's integrated, and that's the best part about it, because you are generating the content that you need to generate.
Okay, so we've had an question here. Follows on a little bit about a workflow I need to that somebody wants. So I want to send step one is to send an email, potentially with a link to a form, and then for a lead, and then to send up a follow-up email should someone reply to that email or complete the form. So let's have a look. So firstly, we need to send out an email, and you can link to a form. If they fill the form out, if they reply to the email, we want to send an email, automatic email response to that as well. So if we go into leads in the CRM, and in fact, you would probably you can do this inside a lead itself, or you can go into settings, and then automation. So you need to be an administrator to access this section. Go into leads here, under automation, and we've got one set up here. So essentially what we want to do is send an email with a form. So let's say we generate a lead from whatever source that's generated. It might be that we add the lead manually from a telephone call, we put the information manually. Might be it's coming from a Facebook message or form or something, but we create the lead and the status of the lead will be new. So the first thing we need to do is send an email. So in this example, we have got an email here, so we can, let's configure this, we can have the content of the email in here. So we can use these, we can use this to bring in the name or fields from the lead. So if we've captured their name, in this case their first name, then we can reply with an email and bring in their name. To do this, you click on the dots here, and we can bring in any of the other fields that we've captured. Of course, you need to make sure that you are capturing that information somehow. You know, some of these fields here, maybe currency and things like that. Maybe you're not sort of capturing a specific currency, but we can bring in anything like any of these additional fields into the email. We can link to a web page, the page we created the form on, or we can just ask them to reply to the email with the information. If we save that, what we're going to do then is just really wait for a reply. So we've got on this one we've got quite a lot of things happening during these different stages here. So let's say that the user updates these stages manually. Maybe we need to put this on hold. Maybe we need to assign it to somebody. We can change these stages. You'll name these stages to suit your business. But various things can happen as a user updates these stages manually. But what we're interested in this workflow is we receive a reply from the customer, and then we send out a follow-up email. So let's say we actually want to update the stage. When we receive this reply, we want to update the stage to converted. Let's say that we're happy that once we've sent an email out and they've responded to that email that they're a qualified contact, so we're going to put it in this converted column. So we already have one in here, which is the trigger section. So we've got rules and triggers. So at the bottom, the rules are the actions that happen when a stage is updated to. The triggers are the things that will actually automatically trigger an update to that stage. So as we've got here an incoming email. So should an incoming email come in from the email address we have associated with this lead, it's going to convert it. It's going to convert this lead. But also we wanted to send out an email, so we can take that one out. We can add in here we go, an email. I'm going to put write our email into there. So what we've got in this process is automatically sending out an email in the beginning, various things that are happening in between here that will happen if any of these stages are achieved, and in this case we don't have any triggers over here at all. So these stages, this lead will need to be updated manually to one of these 3 stages in order for these actions to happen. But what we have got, if we get a response from this initial email here, we're going to update to this stage, and we're going to send out a final email to this prospect. So that's easy to set up in CRM automation. You can do that on any account. I don't think I have a free account, but any commercial package has this.
Yeah, I think this
automation.
I think that leads on to one of the. We had a couple of questions in the week just with regards to the CRM marketing, and what Bitrix allows you to do is allows you to create marketing lists from, for example, your leads. So you can create a segmented list to say, let's create a list of all the leads with a source of exhibition. So all the leads that you've collected maybe at an exhibition, you've got them all into the CRM under leads, and you've got a source of exhibition. And then you've sent out a marketing email through the CRM marketing side of it. But what one of the things was that you can do, and Damien touched upon it with the triggers, is that you can now associate the marketing campaign that you've created with an email link that's been clicked. So because the lead's in the system and it contains the customer's email, then it's going to use that in the CRM marketing. You've put a link in there maybe to click through to your website, and what you can do is you can track that link, and based on the tracking of the link, so let's say we had interface.com, I don't know, let's say landing page, and if that email, if that link has been clicked in your email, so you would need this in your email campaign template that you're building. Once that's been clicked, then you can automatically progress that lead through to the next stage. So it's pretty much like David's been saying with the incoming email, but there are some new triggers that Bitrix have released that allow you then to associate your CRM marketing campaign and use these automation rules with it, which is really powerful because you can then say, I can see you're maybe sending out another email saying I see you're interested in this particular offer, so and so.
I guess also, you've got different links on the page that relate to different products. Then when they clicked on one of those specific products, then you're going to be then following up with more information about that particular product. So it really allows you to create a very dynamic and relevant experience for this.
Yeah, definitely, because you could theoretically, like you just said there, if you're an e-commerce store, what you could have a range of different products, and you could have actually stages as products interested in or something like that, couldn't you? And then maybe if you were interested in product A, product B, product C, you could do the different things, maybe convert them into a contact on your system and put what they're interested in.
Yeah, I think you could store that information as well in the contact. Yeah, it only says so you could have contacts. You could have some custom fields inside your contact that would appear. maybe create a separate section in here. So maybe create a separate section here. If we go into, we could change this to
just interested in, couldn't you?
Yeah, products inquired about, and you could have a series of tick boxes in here that show you what products they've not inquired about, maybe just that those are which products they've ticked on. So gathering relevant data all the time.
Yeah, and just to point out, there are quite a few triggers like email viewed. If you're sending an email out of Bitrix and the person that you've sent it to reads the email, again, you can move it along like that. So there are some really useful automation triggers in here. And then that just leads on to the other question that we had, just with regards to the CRM marketing. How can we create a segment on a particular lead source? So if we go into our leads, for example, here, and you see we've only got a couple in here, but if we just bring in, I think we haven't got the source showing, so let's just say we pull in, I think, is that the source field? No, so basically if you've got a long list of leads and they all have different sources, what you can actually do is you can create a mailing list based on that list. So if we go to the segments, for example here, we've created a lead source equal email, and it basically filters that list and pulls in the 6 contacts. So in this case here, you can see the 6 leads that have an email source of email. So you would save that, and then you can send your marketing campaign to them.
Okay, I have a question. Please can you advise me how I can create a workflow to start on a certain day of each month? Let's go into CRM. Not actually sure whether you can do this in standard accounts, whether you'd have to put some custom code in here. Let's say we're going to create a workflow on a lead. So we're not using automation, we're using the business process tool here now. So we'd have to put some sort of condition in to look for
I think it's quite difficult to do it on a particular date. I mean, what you could do, you could use a while loop and then have a pause within your while loop to pause for 30 days and then come back round.
Yeah.
And come back round.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
Let's have a look. We've got a date. Yeah, you can't. So you can't go. I mean, you could look for a specific date, couldn't you? If a field was an actual date, but not for a date of say the 15th of each month. So it could look. If we've got a date field in here, but it could look if a date field matches a certain date that you would specify, but that would just then trigger it once. If you want to trigger it each month on the 15th of each month, then
I think if you wanted to do it on a specific date, I think you would need some set code to be able to do that. So you would have to create all the dates. If you didn't, and you would probably have to do it in a while loop, and then you would look at a feature to just say equals true. And then what you could do is, what was the question? What did they want to add?
So they want to a workflow to start on a certain date of each month. I mean, the workflow would start, but it would just look for that date, and then it would trigger the actions that you needed to trigger. So the workflow could be continually.
Oh right, yeah. You couldn't start a workflow on a specific date. You would have to have some form of pause block here. So if we had, I don't know, 30 days. The problem is there's obviously 31 days in some, so it wouldn't start on exactly the same date. So you would pause for 30 days, and then it would loop back round, do the task that you wanted to do. If you wanted to create an event, send an email, do this, then it would loop back round after 30 days. That's the only way you could do it, really. So if you wanted to send an email, for example, you would send an email, wait 30 days, loop back round, send an email, wait 30 days, and so on. It wouldn't trigger the actual workflow. This would keep on going in an endless loop.
Right. Okay.
And then you would have to manually have to then terminate that. If, say, for example, if you're going to do it on a billing basis, if you wanted to build someone on say your payments due.
Yeah, they've got a follow-up question. Follow-up point to this is that they want files to be attached to the process in order for it to continue. So we could have so we need to look for a field that has a file attached. You can certainly look for a field, and it needs to meet a certain specific a specific date or value. But can we look at a field that and check whether it has a file attached to that field? You can create a sure whether we can do that or not. Do you think?
I mean, in your loop, you could check to see if it had element field, and then I don't think they've got a file field in here.
Is there an action that is not empty? I don't know if there is.
Yeah.
Equals, not equals, contains. I think we'd have to test it, wouldn't we? Contains or something.
Yeah.
No, I think
if you knew the actual file name that it was looking for, you could put not equal, and then you could put, I don't know, file.jpg, for example, and then if it wouldn't trigger this process if that was. I'm not sure. It takes some thinking about. I think.
Yeah.
It's not as.
It might be that it needs PHP code. Doesn't sound like it's a standard action that's available. Okay. If my emails are synced to Bitrix, can I send emails via Bitrix from my email address? So you can send. If you sync your email account, you can send emails out, and they will be sent from your email address. If I send an email from another device when I'm not logged into Bitrix, would it sync with the CRM? So yes. So if you go into, let's come out of that. So if you go into email integration options in here and add your email account in here, you can use one of these email providers, or you can put in IMAP details. Then this will allow you to then send emails to contacts in the CRM. So let's go into this guy here, and I can send an email to him, and you can see that this is coming from crm@interface.com. In fact, you can have more than one email account. I think actually only on the self-hosted you'll be able to create more than one email account. I think. Oh no, you can add additional senders. So you can. Yeah, certainly you can send an email from your email address. They receive it from the correct address, and then if I send an email from another device when I'm not logged into Bitrix, would it sync to the CRM? So it certainly would. If you've configured your email inside here correctly, then incoming. If you send an email out to this person's email address here, it will copy the email into the activity stream here on Bitrix. You'll see it down here, something like this. So I can open up sent emails inside here. So you can move easily between devices. So you can send the email out from Bitrix. You can send it from your Outlook account on your desktop. You can send it from your mobile Outlook app or other app on your mobile.
Yeah,
it all gets synced in.
Yeah, you do need to, if you're going to do that, you do need to go to your profile in the top right hand corner, click on email integration options, and actually connect your email via whichever application you use. It. You obviously, if you don't have a set one like Gmail or Outlook, then you can click on IMAP and put in your IMAP server address as well. So all we would recommend is when you're integrating your email is, if you're integrating, for example, Andy at interface.com, you don't want all your emails to be used to, if they don't exist in a CRM as a contact or a company, then we would just recommend taking off the create lead for new email address, because it'll fill up your email, your lead quite quickly, because obviously not everybody that emails you exists in your CRM, so you get marketing emails, and they will be irrelevant when you're in your leads. So
yeah.
What's one other thing with the email integration, just while we talk about that, I know quite a lot of people, and I had the question the other day with how do I set up something like hello at interface.com, where they are going to be generating leads from. What you can actually do in the CRM now is, if we go to more and settings, click on email, you can actually set up a company email account. So if you click on company email, and it's exactly the same, but you can set up for hello at Interface. And then if we do that, then you can see here for all incoming messages, create a new lead. So that's really useful because people do use inboxes obviously for creating leads, and this is where you would come and set it up. So in your CRM settings, email, set up your company email, and then this is where you would then set up your generating leads from a company email address.
Yeah, I've got a question here. Can I manage multiple businesses in Bitrix? So you can. Indeed, it depends how you want to do that. So with the self-hosted edition, you have an enterprise solution which allows you to create multiple instances of Bitrix. But there isn't a full separation on those instances, so one user from one instance will actually be able to find, if I search up here, I can find anything in the system up here, and I can find other employees. So if one user from one instance, one business, would be able to find users from another business or employees of another business. So it's not separation in that respect. So I think if you're managing multiple businesses, you can create, if you're on the cloud, particularly on the free cloud account, you can create multiple instances on the cloud account. Use the free one or subscribe to it. Very low cost way really of managing multiple businesses, but I guess you might want just one platform to manage all those businesses. So there isn't full separation on those businesses at all, but what I recommend you did probably is create one instance. Don't necessarily buy the enterprise license, buy one of the standard licenses, and then create a work group for each business. So you'll have one common area where people can communicate with each other, one common URL to log into. If you're on the self-hosted on the cloud, you don't generally have your own URL unless you're on professional. And then you'll have some certain content on the left-hand side that's relevant to all people across all businesses. You'll also be able to talk to each other, and they'll be able to send messages to each other in the activity stream like this. But you could have then a private area for each business inside a work group. So if we go into a work group, then this is your business number one, and down here are all the employees of that business. Nobody from any of the other businesses can access this work group. You can make this work group untraceable, so you can't search it. If I type in 888 up here, then I find the work group, but you can make it a private work group so that it won't appear in here. So it won't be visible, or you can make it a public work group that you need to request to join. So people could search it, they could find the homepage, you'll have to click on a button to request to join. But this would mean that you can, just communicate with people inside this group like this, share files, videos, things like that. But then also you've got, they've got quite a lot of functionality inside a work group. You've got tasks. Inside here you've got calendars. You can share documents just with people in this group or this company, and then other features, across here you can give. So you would, if you were the owner of all the companies, then you click on your show work groups. In fact, on the self-hosted edition, you could actually rename that to companies. And then you could see all your companies listed down here. So it might be that some people some people only allowed to access one, some people maybe access more than one if you're a manager or accountant or somebody that looks after more than one of the businesses. So the answer is not really to use the enterprise necessarily, or the enterprise has its benefits, but the answer really probably is to use work groups for each company.
I think going alongside that, a lot of people ask for, can you use Bitrix for multiple companies, and especially the CRM side of things, because that's one of the main uses, isn't it? I think, and if you were to do that, it's quite easy to set up really, because if you go into the employee side, you can actually set up a department per company, so we can see our top level here. We can set up all our different companies across the top, and then we can set up the departments for each company below them. So we would have clear segmentation about what companies they are, and then when we actually set up the CRM, so if we go into the CRM itself, we can actually do it on a departmental basis. So we can say you can only, if you go into more and settings and then permissions, then we can actually do it. So if we set up a, I don't know, company A role or company role, sorry, then we can actually set up all the permissions to be viewed by personal and department, and that would mean that company A in the company structure would see only their own, company B would only see their own, company C would only see their own, and if you wanted the management of that particular company, then you would just say personal department and sub-department, so the heads of the company would then be able to see everybody below them as well. So it's definitely the way to do it if you're going to segment it into different companies.
Yeah, absolutely, and that covers the permissions off, so you can't see. So if I went into my contacts list, you can see I've got 5 contacts here. There might be 100 contacts in the system, but I only see the contacts in my list that I'm able to see. So it does segment it. The only thing you can't do with that is create kind of custom fields that are different by company. I can create custom fields, and then I can choose to view those fields in it personally or not view them. But the fields that you create would be common across all companies.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever wanted to have custom fields based on particular departments, you would have to heavily customize. I think we've done it once or twice before. We've actually created a module where you can specify which departments can see which custom fields, but it is quite heavy customization on the self-hosted.
Yeah. Okay. We are wanting users to be able to clock in at the start of their working day and clock out, and then report on this. Can you show this? So yeah, go back to the home page. So we don't have this feature enabled. I'll turn it on, so it would appear here. Let's just go into employees.
It's in time.
Oh, time and reports. Yes. Time and reports, and if we go into work time. Okay, as an administrator, I'm able to access this settings button. Logged in as this user, John Smith. I go into John Smith, you can see that it's off. Let's turn it on, and we can see that now for John Smith, you can do this by department or you can do it by individual users. So it's on. I have a flexible work schedule, which means that my guide time to clock in is 8 AM, clock out at 8 PM, but I can set a minimum duration, and I can set an adjustment interval. So this means that I can allow people to arrive late, finish early, provided they do the minimum duration. If we save that and then close, if we refresh, then we now get this flashing clock at the top of the page. So you can see why we have it disabled. If you don't need to use this feature, it's going to flash every now and again to remind me to clock in. And do this on inside the application, or you can do it on a mobile. Not allow me to clock in. Too sure what we've got set up there. I think we've set something up on this. Okay, so I think on this we've set something up custom, which we were just testing. Let's just go into this other instance, and so we're in as this user. Let's go into time and reports again, and work time and settings. We're in Max Smith on this one, so
I think we actually need to go to.
All right, okay.
I'm not sure.
Don't know what we've done with that. So we changed something on that as well. It looks like. Okay, let's come out of that. So if once it's enabled, especially if you have a cloud account, this will work. If you know, assuming nobody's made any changes to it, allow you to clock in here. You can do the same thing on a mobile app, and flashing will stop, and then you'll be clocked in. It will record time in here. Because we're on it, let's have a look back, see if we've got any. There we go. It record time inside this page here, so you'll have a full list of hours worked by individual, by date up here. We can open that up. We can see a little bit about the report as well. So you can require them to submit a mini report as well. So they can submit this daily summary here to and that will appear inside each of these items that are listed on the individual pages. So yes, you can require people to clock in. You can do it by department, you can do it by individual user. You can set the time they clock in by, what time they're supposed to clock out at, minimum duration that they should work during the day, and you can see, as I think Andy just did there, you can see that these had warnings on them because we're not meeting the minimum duration, and Andy went in and confirmed that that was okay. So you can approve, you know, a shorter day for somebody manually if you want to do that. We got these columns down here that show you the working days. You can see that this person's worked 2 days in this period, so we're searching a period for May. You can see the total amount of hours that they've worked. We customise this sometimes. We add additional columns in here if you want to record when someone's done overtime, or if they've got time off in lieu or something that you want to record for that period. You can add additional items in here if you want a self-hosted edition. So this can be very good for managing people's work time, especially if they're remote workers.
Yeah, and that just leads me on to one of the questions. I had a question that came through yesterday, actually, just with regards to a client of ours using the calendar, and they're just saying how do we log if an employee is ill or away, so off sick, or if they've not turned up, or whatever reason. And Bitrix has a standard a workflow tool where you can actually book your holiday off. So your vacation, so you click on workflow, click on leave approval, and we can actually book our holiday off here. So you can see there is quite a lot of different. Now you're obviously not going to book sick leave off because it's just not something that you do. But what you can do, some people have to set their employees to book it once they've returned to work. They have to submit it here. And Bitrix has moved its absence chart, so instead of using your actual company calendar, what you can do here is if you go back to time and reports, then you can actually see everybody that's been off, anybody that's been off sick, anybody that's been off on vacation. You can actually see the report here. Now, what people tend to do, if somebody was to phone up in the morning and say that I can't come into work because I'm off ill, then you can set users to be able to add entries manually. So what I can do here is click on add entry, click select from structure, and then say, for example, Max Smith is off sick, so just put ill, and then we can put, for example, 10th to, let's just say they were off to the 13th, and then we can click on add. And then you can see close, and then you can see here we have quite a visual tool that allows us to calculate when people have been off ill, for example, because it does colour code it. You can set it in here. You can say sick leave is going to be this colour, and so on and so forth. So this is what you would use to book that kind of work activity off, and then your HR team can come in here and calculate, yeah, this person's been off 3 days. So yeah, you can see. I think this is definitely, you shouldn't be using the company calendar for that type of leave. You should be using the absence chart that's in Bitrix.
Okay, where's my data stored on Bitrix? So that depends on which type of account you have on a cloud where you signed up. So Bitrix has a number of different data centers, and your data will be stored in the local region. So Europe, US, and beyond. So depending on where you sign up, it automatically gets stored in that local region. Probably more information, I think, on that on Bitrix website. But it's stored on AWS, Amazon Web Services. So it's encrypted data. You can't, Bitrix can't access that. We can't access that. Nobody can access your data, read your data. It's backed up, of course. So I don't think Bitrix ever had any downtime, as I know. So it's backed up, but you've got copies if a copy is needed. So you don't have to worry about your data. It's secure and it's backed up, but it's going to be stored in your local region. If you've got questions about particular concerns or requirements about specifically where the data is held, you've got other options with Bitrix. If you want the data to be held on a physical machine that's stored in your office, let's say, then with the self-hosted edition you can install it on a server that runs inside your office. You might want to do that so that you know that the data doesn't leave that particular location, or that it's in the particular jurisdiction you need it to be in. You might want to do that also because you might want to restrict access by outside of that office environment, so you could do that also. You can sort it on this machine in your office. You can with the self-hosted, again, you can rent server space in any location, so it might be more convenient for you to rent a web server than have your own actual server, a physical server. So that you can rent a web server from any local provider or one of the big providers like Amazon again or Google, and you can then choose a region where the data's going to be held. So it's a very big thing these days that data needs to be in a particular region. Where we are in the UK, data needs to be is going to need to be held in the UK for certain reasons, not on continental Europe. So I think Google now we use Google for our hosting. Google now has an instance in the UK as well as one that covers the whole of Europe. So yeah, you can choose with the self-hosted, you can choose where you're going to hold your data. If you want, third option is to use a partner to host your data. As I mentioned, we use Google Cloud Compute Engine, and so we can create an instance for you which can be spun up pretty quickly within a couple of hours. We use a custom environment, our own developed environment, which runs actually better than the Bitrix environment. It's quicker than the Bitrix environment. If you're thinking about self-hosted, then talk to us about our environment, because we can show you facts and figures that show that it runs quicker than using the standard Bitrix environment. So we're talking about the server environment, not Bitrix the application, but the environment it runs in. So yeah, use a partner. We can choose the region that it's hosted in. As I say, Google allows you to choose in UK, Europe, US, and beyond, of course. So there's lots of different things you can do about choosing where your data is stored.
Okay, so I had just a question with regards to the calendar aspect of Bitrix, and they just wanted to just see how we can stop people seeing their calendar. So in Bitrix you have your own calendar. You can sync your own calendar, so you can sync it to Outlook, Google, your phone. Pretty straightforward, you can click on that. But the question was, how can I stop people seeing it? Because as standard, if you go into your calendar here, click into edit, and then click on access permissions. So if you click into here, and then each user has their own personal settings. So you can see in here, I've got all visitors, got view availability. What we can do is access denied. If you do have it set to all view availability, then what people will be able to do is, if I was to click on add and add a user calendar, then I will be able to find that user in the list when I start searching. If the user had access denied, then I wouldn't be able to add this particular user's calendar. And then, as sharing calendars in any system, whether it's Google Calendars or Bitrix, you can obviously, once you've added the users here, you can select whose calendar you want to overlay on top of your own calendar here. So it's as simple as that, really. Each user has their own personal settings of how they want other people to see the calendar, from not at all to full access to be able to edit and delete events out of your own calendar. So set those when you initially set it up.
Yeah, this is a new UI, isn't it? So it looks really good. You can choose to view in different ways, or just view a schedule like this. Question: what is the difference between a work group and a project group? So Bitrix used to have work groups. Bitrix still has work groups, but now Bitrix has launched project groups. So if we go into Plus, you've got these options to create work groups or project groups. We can do these open, private or external. So again, open, work group is visible to everyone, anyone can become a member of the work group. Private, invitation is required to become a member of this work group. And then extranet, meaning that you can invite external people into a work group. So we mentioned before about splitting, having multiple companies in Bitrix. If you use a work group for each company, you can invite your customers in and suppliers into that work group or that company environment. But yeah, in terms of, you can create work groups in these 3 different settings, or you can create project groups as these 3 different settings. The main difference is that, or the only difference really, is that they all include the same features. So these features you have down here are, in fact, let's have a look. It seems to disable these features here when you do a project group. Let's have a look again. I'm guessing when you create a work group, it does the same thing. So when you create, let's go back into a project group. So when you create a work group or project group, it doesn't enable all the features by default. So lists and wiki and these features here, you'll need to switch on if you want those to be displayed. But the difference, to answer the question, the difference is project date. So this is the same, these fields are the same. It's the project date, so the start and end dates to a project. So a work group might be something you have for a department or for a discussion group or something, or for a certain team. You might want to create a work group for a team. It doesn't necessarily have a start and an end date, but obviously with a project, or generally with a project, you start on a date and they're expected to finish by a certain date. So you can do that when you create the work group. Subject, you need to put a subject, you need to put one in a category.
I think one of the other, just to touch upon the other difference is that you have the terminology. So you've got the project assistant here, you've got project owner, you've got project members, and you also have in a project, in the tasks, you also have the Kanban view. I do believe that's different in projects. Okay. You don't, in a normal work group, you don't actually have the Kanban. So you obviously, what a Kanban allows you to do is it allows you to have a set series of stages for your tasks within the project. That's quite a big difference in terms of, so you start off with the default and then you can create your own stages for particular tasks in the project. So it's that's quite a big difference for the actual project itself.
Yeah, but apart from that, you have the same features available. The home page is generally this activity stream. You can see details about the project or work group on the right hand side. When it's a project group, you've got these dates inside here. But yeah, very similar. But yeah, just those sort of little differences to it. Okay, don't know if we've got any more questions.
No, I think there's none come through. I think that just leads us really just with our contact information here really. We are, like I say, we are here every Thursday at 10 AM Eastern time for an hour. So store your questions up, bring them next time. I think if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you'll get notified as soon as we go live. I think we are doing our webinars on live as well every Monday.
Yeah, so if you subscribe to YouTube, then you'll know when we're doing the webinar, which Yasin says we do at 10 AM Eastern time on Mondays. So they're on a particular subject
So it's 11 a.m. Eastern
So
time.
it's 11 a.m. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time. Indeed, if you go to intraface.com/webinars, then you can access those webinars. We do 7 different webinars, 7 different subjects. So every week we do a different one for 7 weeks. But yeah, we do those on live as well. So you can either sign up for that on GoToWebinar, or you can just watch live on YouTube.
Yeah, and as mentioned, we're in the US, the UK, and we're in Dubai. So if you're in one of those locations, just use the contact numbers that you can see on the screen at the moment. We do any customization elements on the on-premise and on the cloud version as well. We can help you set it up, we can help you configure, we can also host the on-premise version for you if that's what you were going for. And then we can also arrange, if you've got your own company requirements, we can have one of our sales engineers set up a personalised demonstration for you as well to go through the system and to make sure it meets your requirements for your business. So get in touch with us. But I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I think if we, like I say, we're here next week, and yeah, so see you next week.